Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. I'm Bill Horan, along with my co-host, Nassau Community College student Corey Kaufman, coming to you live once again via Zoom and being socially distant as recommended.
Today we have an interesting topic, to say the least. We're about to spend the next 30 minutes talking about marijuana reform, Bill.
Now, before you get too excited, Corey, we need to find out some details. Let's learn more by saying hello to our guest, Benjamin Leiner, the Executive Director of NYC NORML and a member of the Board of Directors for Empire State NORML, along with Steven Abreu, Co-Director of Long Island NORML. Benjamin and Steven, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. First of all, I'd like to let our audience know and have you explain, when I say NORML, it's spelled all caps NORML. What does that stand for?
So NORML stands for National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Okay.
Of course, that was started about 50 years ago when people were using the term marijuana. Also, got to say, Norfolk just doesn't sound as good. But these days, of course, the correct term is cannabis.
And before we get into the actual topic, how are both of you doing in these difficult times with the pandemic running around?
Well, I've been doing all right. We've just keeping busy one way or the other. It definitely delayed some of our efforts for legalization this year, but it also helped bolster some of our arguments for funding and everything. But aside from that, it's been good. It's been holding out, getting by each day.
And Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I'm holding in. It's been tough for me, like for everybody in America. But there's a silver lining, which is that it's been great to spend a lot of quality time with my family, and I know I'm not the only person who's seen that silver lining. I have to say it's also been a bit of a silver lining for our movement, as we've seen, cannabis dispensaries in legal states and in states where it's still, not yet legal, be described as essential workers. And I think that's really changed how people in America are perceiving cannabis, as it's up there with, firemen, nurses, restaurant workers, and cannabis dispensaries.
So tell us, what is Long Island NORML all about?
So I am one of the co-directors of Long Island NORML, along with Troy Smith, who is the founder of Long Island NORML. I believe he founded it back in 2011. And we're basically here to fight for cannabis consumers on Long Island. We don't work on behalf of any businesses or any lobbyists or anything like that. We're basically, if anything, we're lobbyists for consumer rights on Long Island as far as cannabis use goes and medical use. So we were having monthly meetings where we train our members to be ready for lobby days, where we go up to Albany and lobby our respective senators and assembly members for cannabis legalization.
Steven, can you tell us what is the differences between the words legalization, decriminalization, and medical marijuana? Most of us don't know that, and we hear different terms and we have misconceptions, I'm sure.
Yeah, so a lot of things happened last year, as far as, our push for legalization. We didn't quite get what we wanted. We wanted legalization, which means the full adult use, the legalization of the full adult use for sale, possession, purchase, and just overall general use. Decriminalization, we don't think goes far enough. Decriminalization just lowers the civil penalties down a little bit, makes it a minor infraction to hold up to a certain amount of marijuana, but it doesn't make it legal to purchase it, doesn't make it legal to sell it, doesn't make it legal to consume it in certain places, and it just doesn't go far enough as we would like to see as far as legalization.
And when we talk about those words, what are some of the misconceptions I'm sure I have, perhaps Corey, and many of our listeners when we're talking about marijuana?
A lot of misconceptions that people have is that one thing that we hear when we go to the town halls and everything around Nassau and Suffolk County is that people still have a lot of these ideas in their head that legalizing adult use cannabis will lead to an increase in kids using it, even though all the studies that we've seen out of states that have legalized have shown the exact opposite. People have fears when it comes to driving, even though studies have indicated the opposite. And there's also been fears behind I mean, it's such an old wives' tale, but the one that people like to repeat a lot is that one marijuana joint has the equivalent of 10 cigarettes worth of tar, which is just patently false. And I mean, I can think of so many other misconceptions that people have when it comes to cannabis and legalization. What are some that you might have?
Well, I would just think when people think of marijuana, is that a drug? If someone said, "Oh, let's put that on Main Street in the center of town," you go, wait, do you want a drug clinic in the middle of town? Do you want, in quote, those people in the middle of your town with your children? Uh, who knows who's hanging out there? Those would be some of the things that would come to my mind immediately. Do you get hit with those questions?
Oh yeah, I mean, not even just questions, but just outright, general blanket statements that if we open up a cannabis dispensary in a shopping center, it's just going to bring a bunch of vagrants and it's going to cause homelessness and crime and all these things. So yeah, those are big misconceptions that we hear, not just from concerned citizens, but as well as paid lobbyists for anti-marijuana groups and the police lobbyists as well.
And those people are already there. Those people are there in Main Street right now. Those people are your librarians, your teachers, your it's everybody. It's the people are there in downtown right now who are running those small businesses. Many of those people go home at night and smoke a cannabis to relax and go to sleep. And it's going to be the same thing when it's legalized downtown. It's going to be the exact same people that are downtown. They're just going to be buying their cannabis next to their, bookstore instead of going and buying it in the back of somebody's house.
And that makes a lot of sense. Corey?
Are some of these concerns valid? Like, what are some of the health risks of using marijuana? Like, is it possible to overdose on marijuana? I know there are concerns of it being some sort of gateway drug, or the risks of mixing it with other drugs or alcohol. Can you maybe speak on that? Let's start, Steven.
Yeah, so what we're looking for, and this is where we kind of have a sort of parallel with the people that are against legalization, is that we're for harm reduction. And we see legalization as the clearest path towards harm reduction and towards educating children, educating teenagers, and educating adults as well, because many adults are misinformed on the facts. And if we properly teach people these facts and the science behind it all, the data, the statistics, we wouldn't have all this clouded knowledge where people are unsure if their kids are going to overdose if they smoke a joint, where they're unsure if a teenager smokes one joint that they're going to be all of a sudden wanting to try meth out and heroin and crack, because all of these concerns that people have of cannabis being a gateway drug, of cannabis leading to overdoses, have just been time and time again unproven. And what we're looking to do is to shed light on the facts. And unfortunately, with federal prohibition, we lose out on a lot of studies that we would otherwise be able to have. But with what we have got so far, we need to get that information out and make sure that, one, the parents are informed, two, teachers are informed, and that the kids and adolescents are informed. And we can't do that if we keep on with the same old routine of just telling kids just to say no, telling them that they're going to overdose if they do it. Because once they go and try it, whether or not they try it, if they do, if they don't, if they try it and they realize they're not overdosing, they realize that all these things that they were told about cannabis aren't coming true, then that might lead them to believe that things they've heard about hard drugs like meth and heroin might not be true either, even though what they've heard about those hard drugs are indeed very true and very real. It just leads to distrust and leads to a perpetual state of misinformation.
Well, you are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking about the controversial topic of legalization of marijuana with Benjamin Leiner, the Executive Director of NYC NORML and a member of the Board of Directors for Empire State NORML, along with Steve Abreu, co-director of Long Island NORML. And NORML is spelled NORML and stands for the National Organization, the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Ben, can you tell us what are the effects of mixing marijuana, if you're having that at a party, with either some other drugs or alcohol? I'm sure that comes up frequently.
I mean, it's always bad to mix drugs. The fact is, though, that cannabis is the safest drug there is. It's impossible to overdose on it. It's not addictive. Obviously, like anything, people can do anything too much. People can become shopaholics, but we don't ban shopping. So yeah, it's important for people to consume safely. That's something that NORML feels very strongly about. We believe in making sure people are of a safe age to use it, and we want people to consume responsibly, but we also want them to have safe access.
Now, what about, in fact, I just saw a TV show about it last night, and the female star in this show tended to like to put that into her salad. What effect, if any, does that have? And I guess, is that called edibles? Is it different from smoking marijuana?
Sure, it's very different. The effect is that she's probably going to be really tired and have a good time. She might be giggling a lot, and she might eat a cookie and then a cake after that salad. But edibles are very different. A lot of people have a misconception that edibles are a safer way to consume cannabis. In fact, a lot of the issues where people have problems with cannabis can often be from ingesting too much. But even when you ingest too much, the worst thing that happens is, you feel a little bit uncomfortable and you go to sleep.
Before the pandemic, Governor Cuomo included a plan to, quote, regulate, restrict, and control the responsible adult use of cannabis in New York, known as the Cannabis Regulation and Taxation Act. Was that a good thing in your opinion? And where does that stand now? The world has changed significantly since that news in February.
I mean, we're happy to see the governor supporting legalization, pushing legalization, but there's been legislation that's been worked on for 5-6 years called the MRTA, which we think is really a better bill for consumers and for social equity in the state. At the end of the day, we need to get something legalized. We're putting a lot of pressure on the governor's office to try and consider more of the MRTA and to try and incorporate that into the CRTA. And we're just waiting to see what they come up with.
Steve, I understand that there's been some talk about cannabis being able to prevent or help with the coronavirus. Now, that's definitely a hot topic and certainly something that you guys are the experts. What have you got to say about that?
Experts on policy. I would not say I'm an expert when it comes to science, especially when it comes to COVID. I've been reading those articles. I mean, they seem promising. Cannabis, the compounds within cannabis have a lot of promising positive effects for a lot of the negative effects that are caused by COVID. We've seen, as far as being a bronchial dilator and helping with inflammation and the like. As far as me going out there, I'm going to say it's going to cure. I'm not going to go that far. Going to go that far until there's, thorough peer-reviewed science and all that. But what we do like to say to people, especially in these times of COVID, is to just be safe, be smart, don't pass something and share it with someone right now. Now's not the time for that. If you're going to consume anything during COVID with other people, make sure you're socially distanced, 6 feet apart, not in a closed space. So as far as COVID and cannabis consumption goes, our main line right now is telling people to just be safe with it, socially distance.
Well, I thank you, because it would be very easy for you gentlemen on the end you're on to say, yes, let's go for that. But your first reaction was let the medical professionals prove it, go through the protocols, which, of course, is the correct way with anything. Take it one step at a time, even though we would all like to find out that chocolate candy would cure it or ice cream, something like that. It's the position we all have to be in is let's make sure it works first, and then you've got a great product you're talking about, and your job will be easy after that, if that's the cure.
And especially when there's other ways to ingest it, like we're saying with edibles, topicals, tinctures, where you don't have to actually combust with the flame and inhale actual smoked plant matter, which would obviously further exacerbate COVID symptoms. But yeah.
And also, you mentioned something, and in case our listeners didn't pick up, I guess where people, and again, I'm not into this part of the market, but someone passing around a cigarette, like you said, in these times, you don't want to be doing that, because anything that could pass around germs or get the virus from one party to another could start a major infection. You want to stay away from that and keep your own private supply, I guess, or smoking apparatus.
Yeah, now's a good time to not puff puff pass.
Okay, Corey.
There's some people are saying that the legalization of marijuana would be the kick in the butt that our economy needs to rebound, especially after the shutdown of the economy due to the coronavirus. Some numbers I just found. Apparently, the legal marijuana industry in Colorado generated over $1 billion in total state revenue for Colorado, and that's one industry alone. I was wondering, what is your opinion on that?
I mean, that's been one of my driving arguments for cannabis legalization since I got into this movement about 12, 13 years ago, was the economy, was that this is a recession-proof, disaster-proof. It's a never-ending economy. It's not going it hasn't gone anywhere in the past 70, 80 odd years that it's been federally prohibited, and it's not going to go anywhere in the case of a pandemic. It hasn't gone anywhere in the case of the recessions that we've had throughout the past few decades, and it's still going stronger than ever. I mean, like Ben said before, we have states declaring it essential service from the medical and recreational standpoint. And as far as what we were expecting to see if we legalized in New York under the MRTA, we would have seen $1 billion revenue fall. I mean, a lot of the things that we're worrying about now, as far as financing unemployment, financing PPE, and all the things that are coming with this pandemic right now, we wouldn't have worrying about these big holes right now and all these gaps that we're seeing in Nassau County and Suffolk County, all throughout New York City and the rest of New York right now. We wouldn't really, I mean, I don't want to say that we wouldn't be, but we'd have some money to fill those gaps in if we had a legal cannabis market. Because as you said, right now, it's all going to the black market. Even with our medical program, there's still so much getting lost to the black market, because with the limited medical program that we have, there's only so much you can satisfy.
And it's not just taxes, it's jobs. It's an entire new industry. You know, it's not just dispensaries and farms. It's transportation, it's electricians, it's construction for building new facilities, it's people to trim the plant, it's transportation companies, it's security companies. So we're talking about tens of thousands of jobs surrounding the entire new industry that New York desperately needs. And that could also be, you know, not just downstate in New York City, but lots of agricultural jobs upstate, where they've really been suffering before this pandemic for so many years. And I think this is the answer that they've probably been looking for.
Ben, can you tell us how your job in the city and Steve's job on Long Island, how has it perhaps changed during these pandemic times?
I mean, everything's a little bit been on pause, really. I mean, the pandemic has kind of, you know, a lot of what we do is meeting with legislators, meeting with other activists, meeting with other stakeholders, and meeting with members of, you know, consumers and the members of the community. And obviously that's a lot harder to do now. And in the legislature, everything just obviously stopped when this COVID started, and everybody just focused on that. So we've probably lost another year because of it. But on the other hand, we're more optimistic about next year.
Has it been any different on Long Island, or is it pretty much the same as in the city because of the virus?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely brought our efforts to a standstill. NORML was doing a lot of work. We did go up to Lobby Day in January, one of the first lobby days of the year, and we had planned on going to a lot more, along with New York City and a bunch of other NORML chapters throughout the state and a bunch of other organizations that are in the movement. Long Island Progressive Coalition even had a cannabis legalization campaign out here that was going on, that I was a part of in February. It was going to go through April, but then COVID happened, so we had to cancel that campaign halfway through, where we were trying to get resident support to push our senators towards the MRTA. And of course, all that had to come to a complete stop in March. And so what we've just been doing lately is just keeping things going, you know, keeping in touch with our members, you know, seeing how everyone's doing, you know, letting everyone know what we're still doing, and that, you know, we're still aiming for next year, and who knows, maybe anything can happen. And also showing solidarity with other, you know, movements that are going on right now, with the Black Lives Matter movement coming up, you know, coming to full steam right now. We've been supporting that through and through. I mean, the fight for cannabis legalization is a fight for social justice. It's a fight for criminal justice. So we're hand in hand with the Black Lives Matter movement. So that's been keeping us busy out here as well.
Sounds like you're very busy,
Yeah, we got it all covered.
even during difficult times. Corey?
You are listening to My Hometown on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan. And today we're talking about the controversial topic of legalization of marijuana with Benjamin Leiner, the Executive Director of NYC NORML and a member of the Board of Directors for Empire State NORML, along with Steve Abreu, Co-Director of Long Island NORML. And NORML is spelled NORML and stands for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. My next question is, I saw on your Facebook page that you seem pretty excited about a medical marijuana dispensary being constructed way out east on Long Island. Is there anything you could tell us about that you know about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big move for the Shinnecock Nation out east in South Fork, I believe. They have, the full right to do this. It's their land and everything. This is going to be really good for their economy. I mean, they needed something to help bring in the revenue. They had their road sign put up about a year or two ago, and that was a big controversy for some of the residents out there. But we stand in full support of what they're doing. What they're doing is not just helping the cannabis legalization movement, but it's also helping the Native Americans movement for sovereignty. And so we see it as nothing but a good thing.
Ben, can you tell us, as we're using the term medical marijuana, where do the divisions come from? What's allowed as medical marijuana as opposed to just if I had no medical reason, am I allowed to go buy marijuana? Can I have that? What are the, let's say, legal limits or laws that I should be aware of?
Right now in New York State, there's only medical access. The number of conditions that qualify for the medical access have been expanded, which is something we've been working on for the last few years. But to be honest, the medical program in New York State is not very good. They don't sell flower, which is, the raw, dried cannabis, and is, a lot of people consider it to be the most medically effective. They only have, vape pens. There's been a lot of controversy about vapes, about the health risks with vaping. Jury's still out on that a little bit. We do believe they're going to expand the medical program to include flower in the future, and they're already kind of slipping it in through these little vape pods that are full of flower. But we really need the program to be expanded so everybody in New York has access to the correct medicine they need and at an affordable price, because the prices right now in the medical shops tend to be higher than they are on the black market.
Now, who do we start with? Our doctor? In other words, does the physician say to us, gee, I think this would be just like they might prescribe cough medicine or allergy pills? Do they say this might be a good reason to take some medical marijuana? Is that where the procedure starts?
It usually starts with the patient going and asking for a prescription, indicating that it's something that they think would be beneficial. But there are, of course, there's many doctors who also are able to feel that this is something beneficial for patients and can introduce the idea to them as well.
So you would need something from your doctor. You just can't go in and say, give me some medical marijuana.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a number of services. It's very easy to do now. Telemedicine, especially during COVID, has really boomed. And it's something that you can go into. There's many different telemedicine companies you can work with to get your license or your prescription in like an hour or two.
You are a nonprofit organization. Where do you get your funding to continue this mission?
We do. So we get donations from local members, and then we also hold any sort of galas we can hold, fundraisers, parades, marches, rallies, whatever we can do. We host tabling events at local events, and we'll fundraise there. We resell T-shirts and all these sorts of things, and accessories and stuff like that. Any little way we can just raise a buck here or there, we do, without having to take any money from any corporate entities, and without having to rely on any big money donors like that, really, as far as local chapters.
Steve, what's your picture in terms of the future in terms of medical marijuana and maybe reform in that direction? Do you see uses for new cures, areas that could be more helpful? Is there a movement? Let's say a lot of people have back pain. Is it good for that, or headaches, or a fingernail injury?
Well, I mean, we've just barely scratched the surface here as far as research into cannabis and the compounds, the cannabinoids and the THC and what it can all do for, our bodies and our health. And so I have nothing but an optimistic outlook, because the future is legalization. Like, as hard as prohibitionists want to try to prevent that, it's going to happen. And what's going to come with that is going to be a lot of research, a lot of peer-reviewed research, and we're going to see the truth finally come out. And the truth is that these compounds have a lot of potential to help a lot of people for a lot of different reasons.
Is there anything pending right now? Any new laws? Again, everything is somewhat up in the air because of the virus, but is there anything that we should be aware of, or maybe we can learn more about?
Right now, yeah, as you said, everything's up in the air. We were hoping maybe to see something in when the assembly reconvened this week, but there's not much going on as far as our movement. The movement for social justice definitely is getting an uptick and is getting a lot of attention this year, and for that we're very grateful for.
If someone wants to learn more or be part of your organization, how do they contact you or get to learn more from you?
Well, for Long Island NORML, I could tell you we're on Facebook. You could just look up Long Island NORML, NORML. We're on Instagram and Twitter as LI_NORML, that's NORML. And then Ben can give you the rundown for New York City and Empire State NORML's contact information.
Same thing. Check us out on Instagram. Everybody's on Instagram now, so NYC NORML. You can send us a message on there. We're also on Facebook, as well as Empire State NORML also has Instagram and Facebook, and that's the best way to contact us. One more thing I'd like to add is that, if you're listening to this radio show today and you consume cannabis, you think it should be legal, it's really important to contact your legislators and let them know.
Gentlemen, thank you. We'd like our audience to know that we've been speaking with Ben Leiner, the Executive Director of NYC NORML and a member of the Board of Directors for Empire State NORML, along with Steve Abreu, Co-Director of Long Island NORML. To both of you, good luck to you and to your organization.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman. Thank you for listening to this week's special edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to whpc@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.